All right, Rio here, and it is week 6 ending, week 7 beginning, and we are in the middle of code review, Dev 0, and I have a, a good amount, which I'm happy to see, of submissions that were done. Some right up until I woke up this morning, so that's okay too. And the couple things I want to say about the devs and the code reviews is that I get that this can be stress provoking for some people who have never been through it. Honestly, I think it's a really important process and for a variety of reasons. One is that I just think it's one of the best ways to assess how students are doing. And the thing is, there is such variety in this class, from seasoned programmers to computer engineering students to first time programmers. So, and it is still an important process for all of them. And I'm more convinced than ever the importance of them. So just know I look forward to seeing the rest of the devs that were submitted next week. I sent out an email about that, so check it out. Make sure and just email me, and I'm already putting together my schedule for next week. Now I don't publish it. I don't give you a sign up like this week. And yeah, I did get full. But I don't do that for next week. You just need to email me and I'll tell you, tell me the slot that you want, because I want you to first check my office hours and see if you can do it then. And then we just negotiate and figure out what works for either my existing schedule or your time requirements. So again, I look forward to seeing the rest of you this week, and I really do enjoy this process. So I don't know if you do. I think many of you do, actually, because it's a great way to show off your skill, or it's a great way to get help. And that's the other thing I would say to you is, like, and I said this to my JavaScript class just a few minutes ago, like, Dev Zero is also a point to ask yourself, like, what I'm doing in this class, right? Because based on your experience of your dev underscore zero, may is a good time to reflect, like, is this working for me? Is this what I'm doing working? One thing I think we all benefit from is actually having conversation about code and about where you're trying to do this. And Aaron is great about this, by the way. Aaron contacts me. I hope you don't mind me saying this, Aaron. If you do, I apologize. But we have conversations about what he's trying to do. And sometimes I don't know. And I will be honest with you when I go, I don't know. Because Python is something I am with you learning. And of course, anytime you're learning a new language, if you have learned language in the past, it is easier, but you still have to learn it, and you still have to learn the way it wants you to do something versus the way I'm used to, maybe, probably, yes, JavaScript doing it. So that's good. So a couple things I want to say is that so far, one of the best practices I think we should think about is that when you're capturing user input and you're responding to that input, generally it's best to do it with a while loop, I think. And then based on your flow of your program, have it somehow change the condition to either go to the next step or to drop out. But I think and I saw several people using like a return and then calling a function. And not that that's wrong, but really, typically at this point, what I would expect to see is a return and returning a value. And I just think that's a better practice at this point, but more importantly, just using a while to handle that idea of, user gives you a response, you respond either with an error code or back with the flow of the program. And anyway, obviously I don't mandate that, but if you find that to be something you want to think about, great. All right, so here we are. We're moving on to week 7. I have week 7 available. I've worked on a code example for the Learn Together. And at this point, I've also done a video inside the discussion. So once you get there, you can look at why I did the way because I'm giving you all these like do this and do this with data dictionary structures. So check that out. One thing I do want to say today is this. One of the things, and I want you to know this, like if you were to say define, read this, right? Function, and then you say, okay, so, and by the way, it's good to name function names what they're doing. And this is just a simple example, but that's also something I saw about some of the work. Oh, yeah, I do need to talk about libraries too. But let's say I wanted to say global A, okay? Oh, and I notice it does that. It's trying to auto. So I'm going to say, I'm going to have a global A. And there, in this I saw fairly commonly in several of your code, but look what happens in my VS code is that it really, and I did a little research about this, Python really doesn't want you to seem to do this. It really wants you to come up here and do, not just do A equals, I don't care, 0, right? But that goes away when you do that. So, you know, although you can declare the variable here and say that it's local, Python, and in this case, it's not a hard error. It will not stop your program, but it is a problem that based on what the linter in this case is looking for, it is saying, hey, don't do it that way. It's going to throw you need to declare the variable. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And I saw a couple of examples of that. So the other thing is that, and we've run into this. So if, and I think I just got to bite the bullet and figure out, and maybe this is week 8, is to do virtual environments, because as we move forward, and you can actually now start thinking about, are you going to take your concept from the dev that we just did into dev 1? And then we'll have a dev 2 will be the last dev for the class. So we have 3 of them. And, so you can make a decision, but more likely, the more advanced you get, you're going to want to use libraries. So here's what this is why I need to look at, and I've already asked some of my friends about what's the best thing to do for virtualized environments, because I just don't want to install that stuff globally on my system. And if you remember, you may not, it was a couple weeks back where the copy and paste clipboard or whatever that was got me really thinking about that. So it's time I probably just said, all right, let's do it as a learn together and figure that out. And then from here on out, because Node does this great. Actually, this is one of the cool things about NPM, which is Node Package Manager, is when you install things, it installs it only in the project directory that you're working in. That way you can have 2 versions of a library. But also when you push code into repos, you just tell it, don't take that Node library with you, but that user, when they get it, which in my case, I do. So everybody that submitted code, first thing I do is clone your repo locally and try to run it. And if you're using libraries, and that's the other thing is, like, if you're going to do this, so starting here on out, part of your documentation, your comments needs to be giving the user install instructions. And actually there's processes where I think it's a requirement, can't remember the exact name of it, .txt, where you can actually in Python tell it to go through and install the libraries. We have a similar thing with a package.json in Node to do that. So that's something I see we're going to need to do, especially as we get more and more code that you're writing. All right, so I'm happy that it's starting to cool down in California. It is a little windy, which hopefully is not hurting the fires because it is cooler, and we actually saw a couple of drops of rain. Thank you, God. Let's all do the rain dance. Let's hope it works. Does it work, Kelly? Does it work? Does the rain dance work? I don't know. I'm willing to dance all I can if it does. So what do you reply here? So I think the reply would be, anything you want to say about any of the concepts that I've covered, or if you have been through it, like, or just kind of a status check with your process in this class. Do you feel like, is there something you need to change? Is maybe considering coming, and it doesn't have to be me you talk to. I'm trying to make myself as approachable as possible, but I get that sometimes, no matter how much that I try, students will still have a perception that, the teacher is, and this bothers me so bad, like teachers and students, like it's not, we're all just people, right? And so hopefully once you got through the review, and I think I may have heard this a little bit in my JavaScript class too, is like, oh yeah, I would have I now will come see you. Like, okay, if that's one of the outcomes of Dev Zero, I will take it. Anyway, enjoy your wonderful weekend. And my goal is to actually try to work into 8, but it's a hard Friday for me. I still have code reviews I'm doing and just family duties, which are blessings to have to do. So peace out. I know I rambled. Sorry about that.